own self-managed super fund, it's got to be locked away, or it can't be used by yourself or any related party, but you can actually buy art and rent it to a corporate or an office somewhere and make some money in your self-managed super fund, and then ideally the art appreciates. You can also buy arcade machines and vintage cars. You can buy all sorts of fun things in your self-managed super fund. We have collectible stamps, you name it. There's certain stringent rules, but it is definitely an area that's getting more and more popular. I believe self-managed super funds used to be, a couple of years ago, only 3% of Australians, and now something like 20% of Australians have them. So they're increasing in popularity very quickly. So that sort of starts, I guess, our night on self-managed super funds. We have an accounting arm of Hudson now. So we started this last year. We're beyond busy. We've just taken on more staff, a lot of it with self-managed super funds. And I think the attractive feature of self-managed super funds at the moment is that property over the last 5 years, you couldn't have gone wrong if you own property anywhere. It wouldn't matter where you own property in Australia in the last 5 years, you'll have made some good money. And a self-managed super fund gives you another entity, another ability to purchase property when your own personal names are leveraged to the max. I know for me, but I'm off the scale, aggressive investor. The more the banks would give me, the more I would buy property at the moment, or over the last few years anyway. So I also have a self-managed super fund which owns property. But the purpose of tonight is to talk about Brisbane property. We've got two very experienced and well-known figures in the Brisbane property market here tonight. Luke Best, who is the best of the best, and Dr. Riconi Zen, who'll come up and talk afterwards. Luke deals with predominantly investment properties because it's new, but also has been in the industry 20, 30, a long time, 25 years. Dr. Zen, I love Dr. Zen. He does buyer's advocacy, so deals a lot with existing properties, deals with the 750 range for existing, but also right up to 2 or 3 million around Paddington, wherever you want it to be. But interesting to speak to as well, because you're going to get two sides of Brisbane tonight. So I'm not going to talk, at the end of once the two boys talk about Brisbane property, I'm going to get Brandon Gilmore up, he runs our finance, McCall Lansmore, one of the seniors, and Chris Wren, who is the self-managed super fund expert, who doesn't want to talk, so please don't ask him questions, but he's going to sit here towards the end. All right, handing over to Luke, and I hope you all enjoy the night.
Thank you very much. So I'm told I need to put this on.
Oh, that's, yeah.
So that's good. Hopefully that's working. It is. It's amazing. Technology nailed it so far. I'm looking for a slideshow. Brendan, where am I looking?
You need a microphone, by the way, Luke, just in case.
Do I?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think if you just tap here to Prezzo,
Okay.
I'm hoping.
Awesome. Did we download it?
Oh yes, we might have to go up into downloads actually.
There.
There's the blue one and open
There it
that one.
is.
Yep.
Look at that.
Good stuff.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Look at that. It's working. Can everyone hear me?
It's probably loud enough.
If you can't hear me at the back, let me know. How good's that? So I'm Luke Best. What I'm going to talk about tonight really largely is the Brisbane property market and give you some facts and figures about what's going on and where we're seeing things. Who are we? We are Position Property. Our company's been going for 25 years. We're a member of the Real Estate Results Network, which is essentially 40 plus individual, non-franchise agencies that are across Australia and New Zealand. We have won quite a few awards for what we do, and last year we won the Project Marketing Award for the year, so the Agency of the Year across those 40 different companies. 30 of those companies are in project marketing. I guess the reason I'm telling you that is our agency would be the largest volume seller of new homes in, I'd like to say Southeast Queensland, hasn't been proven, so we'll just say Greater Brisbane. We presently have over 20 projects in the market at the moment, ranging from apartment projects, townhome projects. to high-end homes in groups of 5 or 2. And they range in locations from Robina on the Gold Coast through to Woody Point and Redcliffe on the peninsula, out as far as Cleveland, out in the Bayside, and then in at Chapel Hill as far as west as we go at the moment, but we were in at Kenmore as well and progressively moving out that way. So we cover quite a large area. So some of the things I'll tell you about tonight are facts and figures on actual sales results that we're seeing. One of the things that Juanita mentioned is that we handle mainly new home sales. That's a large portion of our business. We are a full service agency, so we have a property management arm. We have about 850 properties in our property management portfolio that we manage. So we see real data on that as well and what's happening there. And again, that's across the Greater Brisbane area. Our office is in Paddington, but we have 3 satellite offices in Chermside, Tenerife and West End. And we're pretty heavily involved in Upper Margaret. So we can sort of talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the rental market with confidence because we base that again on live data and information. We also have a small residential arm. It does around about 150 to 160 transactions per year. But our project marketing side of the business, so new sales, in the last 12 months, we've settled over 800 properties. Interestingly, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, how many of those would have been to investors, I would have said around about 85%. In the last 12 months, the 800 odd sales that we've just settled and helped people buy their new home, 85% of those were owner-occupiers. That's going to have a big impact on some of the information I'm going to share with you on supply levels and then also on the vacancy rate side of things because we've also got 947, as of this afternoon, unconditional sales sitting in a pipeline that are going to settle in the next 18 months. Again, in those locations that I mentioned earlier, so Greater Brisbane and beyond. And of those 947 unconditional sales, 75% of those are owner-occupied purchases. So when I go on to tell you a little bit further after this around about supply levels and population growth, those things that I've just told you, so the new product, if we're one of the largest sellers of new product and 75% of it is going to owner-occupiers, makes it really hard for the people that are moving here who are looking for accommodation, let alone the people who already live here. And that will have an impact on property growth as we move forward. So that's a little bit of high-level stuff on what I'm going to talk about and some of the scary things that I get reminded of when I sit down and do some of the figures as I pull it out of our CRM and contracts management system. But it's not all doom and gloom. There's plenty of opportunity out there for you. So I'm going to share a video with you. I'm a proud Brisbane resident, have been all my life. I love this city and I love this video. Some of those stats you may not have known anything to do about that. You can find that video if you Google Choose Brisbane and Brisbane Marketing, you'll find it. Some of the stats are pretty intense and impressive for such a little city. And that's one of the things that Brisbane Games are going to bring the Olympic Games are going to bring for Brisbane. It's not about the 4 weeks of the sporting event. It is about all the infrastructure that leads up to it and the legacy that it leaves behind. It's eyes from the global stage on our city, and it makes a big impact. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Can I ask a question? What about the new data centre, the quantum computer centre?
Yes, yeah, there's
something else that's going
as
to
well.
have a big impact.
Yeah, there's quite a few things. I'm not going to talk about
That's good.
all
No,
of the
no.
things. I'll leave some of that
Let's
for the
pick one
politicians.
at a
Yeah. They're announcing quite a few things.
Yeah.
But of course, they've all just been elected. So they're like, oh, don't need to worry about it yet.
Huge.
Save it for later.
We're going to be a major data centre.
Yeah, that's
on
right.
the computer at
Yeah.
Brisbane Airport.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting for,
Yeah, I mean, there is so much happening. They need to get on with it. They really
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
But hopefully they'll do that post haste. So when we look at property growth and why certain locations have great property growth, there's three main key things that you need to look for: population growth, infrastructure, and employment. If you've got those, well, we like to make it simple, pie. If you've got those, you will typically have good growth. We certainly have it in spades here in Brisbane. Population growth wise, we have seen significant growth. One of the things I like to look at is, so if you consider Brisbane from 1970 to 2010, so 40 years, we had an increase of 1 million people in population growth. So, you know, pretty limited, and we were sitting around that sort of 2 odd million. About 1.5 million for quite some time. From 2010 through to 2020, so another decade after that, we had 500,000 more people. From 2020 to 2025, we had another 500,000 people. So it grew very quickly from sort of 2020 onwards. And essentially, predictions are that we're seeing 2 million over the next 20 years, so another 500,000 people 100,000 people per year, every 5 years coming in to Greater Brisbane. Not just Queensland. So Queensland stats are pretty crazy. They're growing just as exponentially the same. And obviously most of the jobs, I won't say obviously all of the jobs, but most of the jobs are going to be centred around all the infrastructure that is being built for the games and for everything else that we're getting ready for, including data centres and everything else that's going on. So most people are going to aim for southeast Queensland, and that does cover areas like Toowoomba and obviously the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, and everything in between. Largely though, we're going to see a pretty high volume of people coming into Greater Brisbane. Why are they coming? There's also overseas migration. So largely, one thing, we'll go back to that slide. One thing you will see with population growth is obviously we have natural growth, but we have interstate migration. One of my favourite slides, or graphs rather, is always the one that compares people leaving New South Wales and people coming to Queensland. Why are they leaving New South Wales? State of origin is one of the reasons. Obviously the weather, and obviously job opportunity and affordability. Yes, Brisbane is becoming, in some cases, more expensive to live, but I would argue that living in the centre of Brisbane and living in the centre of Sydney, you'll still find Sydney to be far more expensive to live. We've also seen a big change of people post-COVID leaving Victoria. They have largely sort of stopped now. It's pretty plateaued now, but we did see a lot of people leave Victoria. Typically, Victorians will not go to New South Wales. They come to Queensland. They might go to South Australia, potentially overseas or over to Western Australia. Did I say that? So largely though, they're coming up to Queensland. But there is always a direct correlation between people leaving New South Wales and people coming to Queensland. It's the highest rate of interstate migration that we've ever seen. And I've been saying that for about 20 years. So it's one of those things. People arrive when they come in from overseas. They'll typically land in Sydney because it's the one that they know, or a lot of them end up in Melbourne because of the education and the opportunities down there. After a while, they'll realise that there's probably a little bit more opportunity in sunny Queensland and they head north. So that's largely sort of how it works. Obviously, post-COVID, we had a lot of people coming back, expats coming back to Australia, and obviously that was impacting some of our population growth as well. Largely, we're expecting it to be pretty stable. I think you'll know why. I mean, obviously, politicians aren't really pushing to get migration happening from overseas people, but I think we need to increase it because we need people to work. And at the moment, people have already got jobs. So it's not a matter of saying that our people aren't working and won't do the jobs. The reality is we need more people to do the jobs. And I'll talk a little bit more about infrastructure in a minute and how those jobs are being impacted and taken up at the ready. So the games, they will make a big impact on the city, obviously for those few weeks that they actually happen, but I heard Graham Quirk speak at an event that we held a little while ago, and he was really passionate about it because he and 9 other mayors many moons ago got together and said we need to do something about creating an opportunity for an Olympics for Brisbane and Greater Brisbane. Those mayors were as far as out in Toowoomba, Gold Coast, Bayside, and obviously up on the peninsula, Sunshine Coast, and they all got together and agreed that they needed to do it. And they started to put that plan together about 15 years ago. So going to getting Olympics is not an easy thing to do. We got it. Big issue we've got now is we need to get on and get something built so that we can actually host these things and not be embarrassed. That's just my opinion. Obviously, we know that there's going to be stadiums and different things, athletes' villages and all the rest of it. At the moment, there's around $7 billion that's been committed in infrastructure spend. There's more that's going to come. And this is all just relating to the Olympics. So on top of that, you've got all the other initiatives that are going on. If you consider what that must bring, it's the people that need to work to generate I guess all of that infrastructure and build the infrastructure. It's cleaners in offices that are running the projects. It's right through to the tradies on site and everything in between all of that. Anything with concrete and steel that is going to be built in the next 10 years is going to be more and more expensive every day to build it, every day without fail. I can tell you, I was in a construction industry very, very long ago. I wouldn't mind being in it today because you can make some pretty good money just holding a stop and go sign. And that is no joke. For us, any unionised site that we're trying to build residential in, we're running at around about 40% capacity. So what would normally take a 12-month build is taking 18 months. That again goes to supply levels, and it's. I'm not having a go at unions. We need safety on sites for sure. It's just that it's a much slower process. If you don't know, if it starts raining, even if there's a roof on the building of a unionised site, you can go home. You don't need to work, and you'll still be paid. That just creates problems as far as delivery. It's that simple. Digress a little bit. As far as infrastructure projects that are coming on, when you're looking at where to buy or where to invest in real estate, I would be advising that anywhere that's near a city centre or a central hub where there's going to be some new delivery of that infrastructure is probably a pretty good place to aim for. We're quite fortunate at the moment. I'm looking at a dartboard at the back of the room. You could take Greater Brisbane, pretty much throw a dart at it, and you'll be somewhere near some infrastructure that's going to be delivered or is being delivered. So that sort of helps you as far as where should I invest. We can sort of dive down deeper into where some other areas might be. Something to consider when you're looking at that is who's going to be renting your property. Personally, and I have a number of investment properties, and only one of them has any dirt, just so you know. So I'm not necessarily land focused. Any property I buy, I look at it from my point of view, quite emotionally. Would I live in it? What do I like about it? Who's my tenant going to be? Thankfully, my wife's an accountant. She then runs it through in a spreadsheet and either tells me yes or no. But essentially, it's something that I want to live in or something that we would comfortably live in ourselves. So when you look at employment and you look at who the people are that are going to be coming here, I would like to rent to someone who's being paid to move here by their employer. So they might have 2 children that are going to a private school and they're going to be, half their rent's going to be covered by the employer. That's who I want to rent to because typically they're going to have a budget of around about $1,000 to $1,500 a week. And I reckon that's going to be a pretty good tenant who's going to look after my property. Alternatively, you can look at something that's a bit further out, let's say 25 kilometres out. You might save $500,000 in buying that property, maybe even $700,000 in buying that property. I can guarantee you your tenants won't be like my tenants. That's just my point of view on who I want to rent my properties to. Yes, I'm a little bit of a snob when it comes to who my tenants are. A bit of a snob. But it means that because I work really, really hard. So if I'm going to buy an investment property and it's a major purchase, it's usually people's biggest purchase, right? So if you're going to do it with the right mindset, and make sure that it's a really important investment. So don't look at it. Well, I won't digress too much, but you don't want to look at buying property as, oh, but I can save $20,000 there, or I can save $100,000. Look at what it is and what it's going to do for you, because you're going to own that property, ideally, for at least a decade, I would suggest longer. By the time you've quibbled over $20,000, $13,000, $20,000, whatever it is, that small amount of money now in reality of what the big purchase is, over 20 years, don't worry about it. It's well and truly covered. So think about it as a big picture. Great story. And it was my reality check for investing in real estate. It was about 15 years ago, and I met a group of people from Hong Kong, and they were coming over to look at a development that we were selling back when most of our sales were to investors. And I stopped and asked a young couple, I said, oh, so are you buying this, as something to live in? And they said, no, we're buying this for our children. And I said, oh, you look far too young to have children. And they said, we don't have children yet. So their mindset is 30 years, not now. And if you all think about real estate in that way when you're investing in real estate, you will not go wrong. It's such a great mindset to have. So there you go. Queensland employment. So one of the things about our jobs infrastructure, so we've got obviously jobs now that are happening and available now. We're sitting at a pretty strong employment, jobs growth at the moment. And predictions are we're going to have employment for around 200,000 more people per year over the next couple of years. And if you remember what I said earlier, we're having around about 100,000 people come to Brisbane every year. So we've got enough jobs, if not surplus jobs, for those people. Plus we've got people who are retiring out of those jobs that are available right now. So as far as jobs and availability, no issue there. So we've got population increase, we've got an amazing amount of infrastructure coming in, and obviously employment off the back of that. So really, as I said, pick that dartboard up, make it a map of Brisbane, throw a dart at it, you'll be okay. You'll find a good spot to buy. How does it all affect the property market? You might guess that I'm going to say it goes up. It certainly is. So when we look at our supply levels, this is just some apartment supply figures that we've got at the moment. Just as an example, some of you, if you are familiar with the property market and looked back in time in 2015 and 16, there were the most cranes in the sky that Brisbane's ever seen. Joe Bialco-Peterson would have been rapt. If there's cranes in the sky, the economy's fine. But it was an oversupply of apartments. We did have too many come in. In saying that, by the end of 2017, everything that we had on our books, all the new property that we delivered, was tenanted. So while there was an oversupply of product at the time, it was all pretty much taken up within 12 months. Since then, we've had introduction of things like build to rent. So a lot of our product that is being delivered in the light blue that you see there is build to rent. So that's generally large super funds buying or building their own built developments and then renting it out. So you might see a brand new building come up. There's a couple in Newstead. There's 4 in Wollongabba. And you might go, oh, look, brand new apartments. Well, they're not for anyone to buy. They're only for people to rent and live in, as one example. The approvals, which is really important to look at, because one example, we're just settling 40 townhomes in Albany Creek, 41 to be exact. That development has taken 2.5 years to get to this point. 41 townhomes. So it's, when you look at approvals, it's not that's going to be delivered in the next 6 months. This is approvals today for the developer to then go and get civils underway, get a builder appointed, start construction, and then deliver it. And I did mention earlier about things are taking a lot longer to deliver. So at the moment, I think this might be this slide here, rental market. Approvals, and we'll go into the rental market. Just so you know, in 2023 and 2024, the financial year, there were 16,700 building approvals in Greater Brisbane. And we need 36,000 per year as a minimum. And in 2024 to 2025 financial year, so June just gone, there were 17,000. So we increased by 300 lots That's a massive increase when we know there's a housing crisis and Queensland government are in here fixing it all. So that's great move. Queensland government predicted an average of 34,000 homes per year will be needed to house the projected population increase. 34,000 a year, delivered, that's not approvals, that's delivered, and we've just approved 17,000. And it takes us about 2 years to deliver that. So we're well and truly behind the 8 ball. They are staggeringly scary statistics when you look at it. We've got 100,000 people coming here every year, and they're predicting we need 34,000 homes. We're not delivering anywhere near enough. We are well behind the 8 ball. There's a report out at the moment. The rents have gone up. They're all predicting, obviously the rate dropped the other day. There's a number of people out there that are suggesting it's going to increase growth because of the rate drop. Certainly, the figures I was talking about earlier, so 85% of our sales have gone to owner-occupiers. A lot of those buyers aren't really relying heavily on an interest rate drop. Certainly first home buyers are looking for interest rate drops and it will help them get into the market. I don't think that the time frame is going to make a real difference. I'm sorry. So unless you're ready to buy, in 6 months' time when you are ready to buy, the interest rate drop won't really have an impact on you because the market growth between now and Christmas will outweigh any interest rate drops. My advice to any first home buyer or parent who wants to help their young child buy something, do it now, as quickly as you can. That's my advice, because I'm telling you it's going up. There was a prediction the other day of 25%. Whether that happens or not in the next 12 months, I don't know. I think it'll be quite steady, but if you look at the cost of building, how slowly we are going to deliver product, and just the sheer availability of what's being delivered, it's now or never. Get in now. Sorry if I'm sounding really scary, but it is, and people don't know. They don't teach you this in school. It's not a subject you can learn at school about how to buy real estate, how to pay it off, and all the rest of it. That's another thing I think is ridiculous, but that's just me. Sound like an old whinging person. It's not all bad news. There's some amazing product out there, and we've got some great opportunities. One of the great things that I think is available to first home buyers is being able to buy something off the plan. You can put down a 10% deposit. A number of developers have developments underway, so they're not always reliant on the 10%. You can put down a 5% deposit. Secure a property today, lock in the price, and in 18 months' time, you've got a property that's been growing in the market at that rate of the current market, the market increases, and you've only had to outlay 5% to secure it. As an investor, by the way, your 10% deposit securing a property off the plan is working for you at the full rack rate. So you buy something for $1 million, you put down $100,000. The $100,000 is earning, let's say the market goes up 10% on your $1 million property. Does that make sense? So you can buy off the plan, and it's a great tool. I've done it 6 times. It works really, really well.
Any investment bonds available still, or not really anymore?
Deposit bonds? Yep.
Bonds,
yeah. We've got several developers that will do that.
One more question, Brendan. First home buyers, any problem with off the plan financing?
No, as long as the deposit's there and deposit bonds available, but it's I guess the borrowing capacity is there now. It's purely just, forecasting what's possible down the track, which can often be increased, during that time because incomes will be increasing.
Yeah. So we always tell everyone, get a pre-approval now or an approval in principle so that you know today, yes, I can afford those repayments and I can buy. Great. Don't change. Yeah, it's awesome. So keep saving and get all that stuff underway and all the rest of it. Meanwhile, the property's earning growth. And at the end, hopefully, there's a valuation that's higher than contract price. But
could you explain just really quickly for the young people that will be watching, investment, how the deposit bonds work? I know they're not always available, but just...
So a deposit bond is basically a piece of paper from an insurer or the bank that states that they'll back you for that 10% deposit or 5% deposit, and that should they get to settlement and the developer calls on that, they'll pay it, and then you're answering to them. You don't have the actual dollars.
No, and they're about a couple of grand.
It's usually about 10% of the total deposit.
Yeah.
So if it's $100,000, it's 10 grand, worst case, and that
Yeah,
covers you the
10
whole
grand
time.
is a first home buyer.
Yeah, that's right.
You could look at it, as long as you knew you were going to have that money.
That's right. As long as you know you're going to be able to make those repayments when settlement time comes. Yeah.
And like you said, it's probably 18 months to 2 years away. Anyway.
Generally, yeah, we're looking now that we don't have. If we're starting today, it's going to be at least 12 months.
Yeah.
So, and it is a great way to buy it. It really is. You've got the choice of everything in the building or a number of things in the building, rather than going to unless you've got, Dr. Zen, going to an open home right now. You'll be one of 30 people,
Yeah.
and arguably you are going to be paying a little bit more than probably what that property's worth. Yeah.
So in your stock wise, do you have things at first home buyers, because there is a limit, obviously.
For many there
actually,
is.
if you're looking for the deposit.
Yeah, but as far like we have, we've got properties that are sub $700,000. Yeah, so there are properties out there.
And as well, the deposit bond, if it's something that's going to settle within the next 3 months, say, if it's a shorter term, then the fees can actually.
Oh, it'd be way lower. Yeah, much lower. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Lately with the $1,000 fee.
Yeah.
For a deposit bond.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that when I get you on.
Yeah. It's another great way for an investor as well. And for me,
I love deposit bonds.
they're awesome. But even your cash, if you're putting in cash, it's secure. The developer doesn't use it. It's
cash flowing over.
that's true. Yeah.
Situations were quite risky 20 years ago. They're not now.
No, that's right. Yeah. So I might just cover that. So buying off the plan, your cash that you put in or any money that you put in is not used by the developer. It goes into the developer's solicitor's trust account, and it's usually invested in a term deposit within that trust account. It's your money right up until settlement day. They can't touch it. There's strict laws on it. The risk buying off the plan is that the developer doesn't complete. And the risk there, because you'll always get your money back, the risk is your time in the market. You've missed out on the growth, right? So it's an opportunity.
What about sunset clauses?
Yeah, so at the moment, I'm suggesting sunset clauses are a good thing. The longer the better.
Okay.
Because the longer they are gives the developer more time to get it built and delivered. What we are suggesting some people do is a sunrise clause, so that if it hasn't started construction, that we say, well, put a sunrise clause in to say if it's not started within the next 6 months, you've got the opportunity to withdraw. Yeah, so that's the time in the market thing. Because at the end of the day, there's opportunity costs that are lost there. Of our 26 projects that we've currently got on the books, about to be 27 tomorrow, the majority of them are known to us, so they're second-time developments that with clients. We have clients that have several developments in the market at the one time.
And I think from what you were saying, when it goes bad, it was when, say, 10, 20 years ago, when you were paying for a price now, and then by the time it came to settle, it wasn't valuing up. Yeah, that would have been back in those 15, 17 when you saw the height of the supplies. So, this has been my job for 25 years. So I've seen, when it hasn't been the greatest time in the world to buy off the plan. So I've had to help people do that. And I can say, hand on heart, myself, my director, and 2 other people in our leadership team have been in the industry for 25 years. We've been in Brisbane doing this job for 25 years. And hand on heart, there has never been a better time to invest in off the plan in Brisbane. Never. Are you seeing an increase in foreign, because they can only buy new now?
A little bit. There's been a change in currency changes help people come back over. So Taiwan, Hong Kong's a little less. They've sort of had a fair bit of upsets. Singapore's coming back a little bit.
They can't buy established now.
Yeah, well, that's right. Foreigners have to buy brand new. And, their stamp duty's like 10%. Plus fees, so it's up there. So it's got to be a currency exchange that makes sense for them, typically. But if that changes, that's just going to put more pressure on our available product. Right now, of those 20-odd projects that we've got in the market across Greater Brisbane that are actively selling today, we have less than 300 properties available for sale. For us, that's dire. We would normally have 900. So it's crazy, and we're just one company in Brisbane that handles project marketing sales. There are developers that do it themselves, and there are a couple of other competitors as well. I'd say that we have the greatest diversity. For the first time in a very long time, really ever, we've got more townhomes in our pipeline than we do apartments. Apartments are very much leading down the track of larger product, so 3 bedrooms and big 2 bedrooms. It's the only way we can make them stack up, so make them feasible for the developer, which just makes everything harder again. So if you can find developers that are delivering 1, 2 and 3 bedroom apartments and you're a first home buyer and you can get into a good sized 1 bedroom apartment, it's going to go really well for you, and it's a great way to get into the market. You'll be close to infrastructure, easy to get to work, all those sorts of things. I'm an apartment dweller. One of the greatest things in the world for me is I have 4 plants on my balcony. That's all I need to worry about. That's it. They're alive and they're going really well. I've got a pool that I can use. I've got a gym. I've got all that sort of stuff. And yes, I pay body corporates, but my body corporate fees cover my general insurance. So for me, and the way I live my life, that works for me, works really well. And as I said earlier, I've got a number of investment properties. One of them has some exclusive use area that's got some dirt, and I'm just about to put a deck on it and just cover it up. I don't believe you need to have land to have the best growth in the world, but each to their own. So there's nothing to say that one is better than the other, but certainly the investment strategies all come down to what's right for you and what you want out of the property market. But I cannot tell you any more that it is a golden age of property right now. I don't even know how that does that. It's pretty cool. But take advantage of it. Do something about it. Even if property isn't your thing, it's such an easy investment to own. I didn't complete high school. Did marry a pretty smart woman, thankfully. But it's very simple stuff. Hold it and it will look after itself for you if you buy in the right location. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we've all heard about new apartments. Now we're going to talk to Riconi. Yeah. So Riconi's a buyer's agent in Brisbane.
I was going to say,
Come on, you're coming up. Yeah.
Luke needs a shirt. I've seen going around a few days like the No Mo Club. There's a whole movement. I do not mow. Thanks.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I was going with moustache then. I was thinking.
Oh no, Mo was in.
I got it.
lawn.
Yeah,
I'll just get.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, just this one. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Hello. Can I start? Yeah.
And then.
What's here? Yeah, thank you.
I might actually just talk. There are a lot of buyer's agents out there. Riconi is someone I met last year, and he's just one of the most genuine people I've ever met. Has a doctorate in anthropology, so looks at properties from a completely different angle to just a real estate agent, buyer's agent. There are some great buyer's agents out there, don't get me wrong, but Riconi is quite unique in how he approaches properties and goes above and beyond for clients. So I just wanted you all to hear him talk tonight and see a little bit, sort of feel how much he loves properties, and he loves dirt.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, my name is Riconi. I'm not only a buyer agent, I'm also a seller agent. And I'm also do the property management.
This, you're not on. Oh. No, you don't think you're on. Try this one.
All right, so, thank you. Is that okay? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I'm seller agent, buyer agent, and we also do the property management. So we also talk with all our clients that we make the end meet. So a lot of buyer agents will tell you that, okay, you will get very good capital growth in future, but they cannot be sure, sometimes they're a little bit big talk. But we can make sure, so that I will show you some cases. Just the cases, and you will see that how it is happen. So the title of my today's speech or lecture or just sharing with you is will you make an offer? So I will just share with you some specific cases so you are very familiar with in Brisbane market. Okay, this is a saying. So if you've been playing poker for half an hour, you still don't know who's the past the years, you are the past. How can I pronounce it?
Patsy.
Yeah, Patsy. Yeah. Yeah, the market is good, but still there are a lot of sellers that are selling. So it's kind of like a hunter and prey. As a buyer, you never know whether you are a hunter or you are the prey. Yeah, it's hard to say because, if I am the seller agent, I will sell the property as high as I can. So I will assure that the seller can get the highest price.
You should probably say now that Riconi doesn't sell and buy properties.
No, I will not. I'd never sell my listing to the clients that I'm the buy agent. It's a conflict of interest. I just let you know that if I am a buy agent for my client, I will make sure that they will buy the most correct property. It cannot be the lowest price, but it should be the correct or the most suitable for them. So in this game, it's a little bit difficult. If the market is that, look, I agree with you. It's a good market now because the price is increasing, but still you need to be aware that sometimes you will very likely you will buy wrong property, and you cannot get the high capital growth in the future. So that's why we are talking about this. And okay, I'll just give you some cases, and you can have a look. This is a one case just sold. It's in Hudson. I think if you are from Brisbane, you must be familiar with this area. This property listing price 1.37 million. And I got some clients that are very interested in this. I show them on first open home, and they ask me how much they would like to make. Or I ask them you should make like 1.45, 1.5. They say no, I will not make that offer. It's too high for us. You know how much, and why I ask them to make the offer like that? Okay, sorry. You can see that, okay, it's a little bit small. You can see that, okay, this is the property, the target property, and this one, it was sold, you can see the April 2025, it was sold 1.7 million. And another two, this one is a brand new, the land size is 271, and it was sold 2.1 million. And this one, it was sold last year, 1.3. So as I say, if you make 1.5, I'm not sure whether you can secure the property, but you can try, but they don't. It was sold 1.8. I don't think 1.8 is a good price for the buyer, because I don't think they can make profit a lot. Yeah, it's definitely it's overpriced. And I checked, usually because I'm the PhD of the anthropology, I like doing research. So after this property is sold, I check the buyer. It's a company from, I think it's from Perth. Yeah, okay, yeah, and I just checked that why they, makes that high offer for this, and that's why you can see that's why the Brisbane market is rocketing now. Because of a lot of interstate investors, they just come and they have no idea how the market is like, and they just make a very crazy offer for this. This one is it's not like that value because the character residential cannot be demolished. You can do a lot of renovation inside, but cannot demolish that one. But I just let you know that before you make an offer or you make a decision, you have to be aware what you are doing. Okay, and this is the first case. And I'll show you the second case. This case is this property on the market for 84 days on the market, 1.1. I think it is 2 years ago, because I want to make an offer for that property. It is in the Holland Park West. That property is very weird because being on the market for 3 months, no offer, and 1.1 still at a very low price. And I ask, it is not my listing. I just ask the agent, so what's wrong with the property? And say it got the structural issue, and the whole concrete slab is sinking. So in that situation, will you make an offer for that one? I want to make an offer 2 years ago. But unfortunately, my mom was sick at that time, so I went back to China. And when I went back to Australia, the property is off the market. But I want to make an offer for that one, 1.1. And this property now will be like 1.5, I guess. A lot of people, they are not making an offer for this one. They think it's not a chance, it's not an opportunity, because it's risky. But you can fix it. So that's why I said you need enough knowledge to know that some issue could be fixed or some issue could be covered cosmetically, and still it can be sold. But some issue cannot. So that's why some of our clients, they trust us and they know that whether it could be sold with a high price or not. But yeah. And this is case 3. That's 20 Winking Street, Chapel Hill. You can see this property is very close to the Centenary Highway, very close. So we make an offer. See, very close, noisy. So if, I talked with Serena, I drove the car to there and I just listen, I just shut the car window, see, because just at night, I just close the window of the car and see whether there is any noise or not to make sure the noise will affect the property or not. And I will also tell, because if I'm the seller agent, I will let them know. If I'm the buyer agent, still I will let them know how it is like. This property is a really great buy, and you can see, this property was sold in 2023 with the price of $740. And people did the renovation, and so you can see that it was sold in the March of 2023 and was sold in October 2023, the same year. They just do a flip.
A small bit of renovation, like they've just done a bit.
I just calculated probably 20%, the return like that. But if the market is that good, why they want to sell it rather than hold it, Because they're not sure, because it's very close to a highway and they got a ceiling. Whether this property will be like 1.5, 1.6, they're not sure, they're not confident enough. They just want to get it sold. So, so just want to get some capital gain and just try to, make some money, run to the second or the third project. So, so you have to be sure that, okay, what should I do? So as a buyer or the seller, people will have different things. That's why I say, do you think the buyer of this property paid 1.15 is a prey or a hunter? I'm not sure, but definitely they will just look for like a self-living. I think that's okay. Because I did a viewing of the open home in this property. They did a very, bad renovation, just like cosmetic. I make it look pretty and just do some staging, but it's not that good. But yeah, they make money. And this is okay. This is my case. This property was sold 891. It's in the flood zone. It's in the flood zone. So we make an offer. It is in Jopili catchment, school catchment, state school and high school, and very close to rain station and a train station and everything, and the shopping center. Do you think it's a good buy? 890. And we are the property manager, and it was renting 960 per week. It's a positive cash flow. So it depends. And the land size is 700. Do you think it's a good buy? I think so, because we help our client to, we let them know that it's a flood zone and the flood, how high the flood is, but still it's a good invest because they just, we got the buyer from China and they got cash offer, they just spend money on this and they get a very nice cash flow. You think about it, do you think it's an opportunity or it's not? And this one, the case 5 is also our case. It was sold 2022, it was sold 755, and we helped them, Riconi Zen, helped them to rent at 750. It's the rent can cover all the interest. So the lady held this for 2 years, and we sold it off the plan to a developer because it's a medium density residential. And that lady got some money and bought this land, 650. And we helped her to sell. Okay, sorry, it's not a long-term hold. Sorry about that. But we cannot decide. I mean, but they decided, okay, I want to get it sold. I just sold last month. I just sold 750. Yeah, almost 6 months. After this, some people ask me whether there is any opportunity. Let me show you the opportunity. This vacant land was sold 750. And you can see in this area in Karbi, there got a very poor condition house was sold 655,000. So if you do some door knocking, we can do door knocking. If we want to do some door knocking, and we can buy some very poor condition house and demolish, and the vacant land will be over 750. And you can see, you can make money.
Could you renovate that? Is that renovate?
No, I don't think you can renovate. It's very poor condition, but you can see that, I'm afraid that my buyer will see this, actually, because I'm selling that property. And you can see that 750 with the house, or only sold 750. And I sold the vacant land 750. But that's the market is like. So with my sold history as a benchmark, if people do the door knocking and see whether there are some people who are willing, and the house is poor condition, probably you can just get some low price. I'm not sure, but you can do that. You can ask some people to help you to do that. Yeah.
So you do door knocking too?
Yeah, we do the door knocking. Yes. As a buyer agent or seller agent, we did both. Yeah. And this one, we help our client to buy this. I think some of you must know this property. It's in Tarragindi. This property is a very poor condition, and and black and white, like that property, and got the it was sold 900, and the land value of this property is, you can see from the Queensland, is 900,000. So that's a buy land, get a house free, and they did the renovation inside. Now they finished, and they want to sell it like 1.4, 1.5. I think the market is like 1.4, 1.5. So this property, first open home, I showed them, I said, you can, the listing price is, I think, 870. And they just make a cash offer, clean contract, and waive off all the cooling off, no cooling off period, just a very cash offer, unconditional, and bought it.
Is that happening now a lot? Cash offers, unconditional, no clauses?
If we think it is, really valuable and the worst cash offer, we will suggest our client to make a cash offer. Yeah, because it's very competitive. Because there are a lot of cash offers. Actually, I talked with the seller agent, but we are the highest. On the first open home, and he secured the property, and he's a builder. He did all the renovation inside, and now, yeah. And this one is my listing. Okay, so we are talking about how Luke told me the market is very good. This property, Deception Bay, this property now is on the contract. I'm not selling this to you, but just let you know, this property on the market for 8 weeks. 8 weeks. It's very new, only 6 months old. But why it is on the market for 8 weeks? Previously, the owner is looking for like 750. But we got a lot of offers like 710. 7, because they got a very small land. They got the land size is, you can see, 209. And a lot of people think it's a townhouse. No, it's not a townhouse, it's a freehold house. But they just share one wall with the neighbor. So the market is like, I think it's a very good investment, and the current rental is 575 per week, but the rental appraisal will be 630 per week. I think it's a very good investment. I just try to introduce this property to all the buyers, but they just don't want to make an offer. Yeah, I've been on the market for 8 weeks. And finally, I get it sold. Okay, still a good offer. The owner is happy with it. And you can see that, I agree with Luke. They bought this vacant land, 278. Probably to build this house, like, I'm not sure, but 300K? Yeah, it's a very small house. And still they make money. Yeah.
How much Deception Bay now, if I wanted to buy an old house in Deception Bay?
699.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first homeowner, that's first homeowner territory?
Yes.
Okay.
So I would recommend, I got some clients, they want to just buy some cheap house, and I would recommend them to go to some, the north side area to see some cheap house. And definitely the capital growth, they will have the capital growth in future. Yeah. Okay, and this is a current listing. It's not my listing. It's the listing on the market. It's the owner is selling this by himself. Okay. Do you think you will make an offer for this one? Yeah, think about it because one of my clients she's interested in this. I show her around and they got the crack here. Okay, the structure issue. I think it's serious. So I asked her not to make an offer for this one. But you can see the land value is now is 700,000. So I show all of the cases to just let you know. Sometimes if you want to make an offer, you should be confident that you are right. I'm not sure, but everyone, they got their judgment, say, I'm right, that's why I make an offer. But if you are not sure, do not make an offer because you are not sure. Sometimes it will be a wrong buy. You should have your own judgment. And you should have your own valuation standard. So whether I can do the renovation, I can hold it, and the rental is good, or I can do develop, whatever. So, but you got your own knowledge and you got your own standard, then you can do all. Otherwise, you can talk to some experts, buy agent, your friend, developer, builder, and then you can get the. So the knowledge is the most important when you do some investment. Okay, not buying a property. So that's what I'm talking about today. Yes. Okay. Thanks.
Stay up the front here because I might get you.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Thank you, both of you, for sort of everything. And we've covered apartments, new, old, existing. I thought now we might get Brendan, McCall, and Chris. Right? Just to sit down, and also Rick, hang around because you might have questions for you as well. And ask you questions. Not Chris though. I'll sit in the middle. Oh, no.
Pass that around.
So, you introduce yourself. Brendan runs the finance team here.
Yeah, hi guys. So Brendan Gilmore. Are we a bit low here? Or, I head up the finance team here at Hudson. So we
I'll
have
ask him some hard questions.
have a whole team running all the mortgages and all the finance options.
You're a good one to talk to right now with the interest rates.
Absolutely.
McCall, one of the senior advisors, actually does a lot of work in the property space, a lot of cash flows, a lot of...
I've been here a long time. I've seen a lot.
Has her own self-managed fund. Actually, Mick's been here 22
Yep.
years,
Yep.
I think. So we've known each other a long time.
And a lot of what I give advice on is what I've done myself,
Yeah.
which gives me another perspective.
And we both love property a lot.
Yes.
And then Chris now, as an advisor, but also runs or heads up the self-managed or our accounting division.
I've seen a lot too.
So yeah, so he has as well. So self-managed super
Advising,
fund.
accountancy,
Yeah.
and the CFO role.
Chris is a hybrid actually, an interesting role because it's unusual to have an accountant who also does
General dog's body. Yeah, good
advising.
call.
He does do everything. That's true. So we might just start with you, Mick. Just
But also, holistically speaking,
yeah,
like,
you three are the team.
we,
Well, an
like
advisor with
the finance department,
and
the advisor, and the accounting department all work in cohesion.
Seamlessly. We actually didn't plan that, by the way.
No.
You both just said it. I said it pretty
Seamless.
So I think, Mick, when you look to do property for anybody, so if somebody comes to you and you're going to talk about property,
Yeah.
what attracts you to, or what sort of gets you talking to them about property? Is it age?
So I
Is
think
it-
it's an awesome opportunity. So if someone comes to me, they've got the right time frame, they've got the right income, they've got equity or assets, it is something that I would always recommend someone explore because it is just a way to get a whole lot of capital in the market. And as we've heard, especially Brisbane, it's a way to get a whole lot of capital into a growing market. So that's where I come in. I see the opportunity. I talk to the client about what it would cost to hold a certain property, and then we explore it. And that
So if you do a property, do you do the let's say you're working with Luke. Would Luke do the cash flows, or do you do the cash flows as part of your advice?
I do the cash flows.
Okay, so you basically run the entire project. So to
Yeah.
speak.
So
And would you working with Chris if it was a self-managed super fund, working with Brendan?
yeah. So with a self-managed super fund, as an entity, a lender looks at a self-managed super fund like an individual, where they look at the income going into the fund, they look at the super balance that might be there, and that provides the borrowing capacity. So often borrowing capacity inside a self-managed super fund may be smaller because of the income going in is limited to super employer guarantee. So it can be smaller, but there's still opportunity there.
And it's a complete different entity. So if you're maxed out in your personal
Well, that's the thing. It's a rare entity which doesn't have an impact directly on your individual borrowing capacity. So they're two separate ones. And that can be created in trusts and companies, outside of a self-managed super fund, but they have to be positively geared to do that. Whereas immediately in a self-managed super fund, it's separate borrowing capacity based on, as you said, your statutory contribution
And that's
and
actually
the
why
rental income. Yeah.
this is the reason why I set up my own super fund. Is because I can't borrow any more in my personal name, but I wanted to take advantage of buying into Brisbane. So I set up my own super fund, used my balance as a deposit, and I'm laughing.
Yeah.
So with self-managed super fund borrowing, I know we're sort of on self-managed super fund. We'll get to first homeowners in a minute. It's different, isn't it, to say a company or a trust where you need a fairly large retained earnings in there.
Yes.
You sort of need a larger deposit than personal.
Well, look, ideally 30% in a self-managed super fund. You can do it at a 20% deposit. A 30% deposit is going to get you the better rates, and also invariably because you are only using your super guarantee as well as the rental income, you'll be needing, at least a couple $100,000, ideally in a self-managed super fund to contribute as the deposit. But once you've got that, it's very differently.
Is that combined? So could I do it with, say, you,
Absolutely, yeah.
Nick and Chris? We could have a self-managed super fund combined, the four of us.
It's just considered as an entity, so it doesn't matter who's put in that deposit or how many people you've got if it's set up with multiple parties in a self-managed super fund.
Is there a limit to parties?
I was going to say before, just on the income front as well, it's not just SG. If you are making personal contributions as well, more than that.
You can actually use personal contributions as well. If
You've got a history.
If you've then got other lending outside of that, then needs to be factored in for any future individual lending you want to do. But absolutely, if you're able to top up to the max contribution, which is currently the 30K, then that can be used.
And is it all, if there's 4 people in the self-managed super fund, so say mum, dad and 2 adult children, all of their SG contributes to the...
Yep. Doesn't even have to be adult children either.
That's where it's a real benefit because it's also then one entity purchasing. So when you're outside of a super fund, you need beneficial ownership for properties. For a property, unless you're a spousal or de facto connection, everyone has to have 25% ownership in a property. Self-managed super fund, the Bear Trust and the self-managed super fund owns that property. It's one entity, so it's not limited through the actual percentage ownership.
So if we talk about, we're skipping ahead here, we talk about co-investing. Let's say we're all 20 and we decide that we want to buy a property together, the 4 of us, because that's fairly new rules, isn't it, with the banks now, where we're able to actually co-invest.
In individual names it is, and then that would be a 25% ownership
25%.
minimum at the moment,
Okay, so you
that's
couldn't
needed.
have me at 10% and you at 50%?
No, you could technically have 4 couples currently. There's 2 banks currently innovating in this space a little bit. Other countries do it much better than we do. You could technically have 4 couples for that 25% ownership, but really it's 4 individual shares at 25%.
So if you're not aware of this at the moment, the banks, was it about a year ago or was it less
Over this last sort of 12, 18 months,
You are now able to co-invest properties and they're doing it predominantly for people to get into the market. So my son's here tonight, he's 21, so if he could find 2 or 3 friends who are like-minded, they could all buy a property together. You have to have obviously some sort of agreement at the beginning so that there's some sort of exit clause on this, so that you know that in 10 years or 20 years you will agree to sell it, or if one wants to sell, the others have the first right to purchase. So there is a legal agreement that's needed.
Independent legal advice is definitely required,
But
We're seeing a bit of it with parents helping siblings.
Oh yeah.
So, two sisters or brother and sister getting into the market where the parents are helping with the deposit, gift,
and allowing them
and then they're co-investing, and whether they live together or one lives there, but they own the property and they're in the market.
It's great because
We're seeing more and more of it now.
And the great thing with something like siblings, you can do it as co-applicants if you're happy to share your financial details. But with 2 of the banks now, and we'll see more of it, the property share loan also means your application can be kept confidential and private. So your financials aren't shared with your co-borrowers. You don't have to divulge every part of your income and your earnings.
And let's say the property grows $100,000 next year. Do the 4 of us get to take 25,000 as equity to buy our next property separately? Like, can we take it?
If it's not in the super fund, of course, but
No,
in
talking
individual
about
names,
personal
then yeah,
names.
you've all got your share of your equity
So I
based
take
on
my
what
25,000.
your share is on the
and
title.
I can leverage into something else.
Yeah.
And leave you guys for dead.
Well,
Like this.
you'd need to all still security guarantor each other's loans. So there is still ongoing. It's not as simple as it would be
Okay,
if it was
once
just
I
in
get
your
it right the
names.
first time though,
But-
am I free then?
Essentially, you will own your share of the equity, but any further lending you take on it would still need to be guarantored or guaranteed
Okay.
by the other
But only
owners.
for that
Yeah.
next purchase, and then I've got the next property. which
Yeah,
will
then once you've got a
be
separate
mine.
property in your own name, in your own title, then you can leverage against that.
Okay.
Yeah.
While we're talking to first home buyers,
Mm.
what is is there something happening where the government's increasing? Because
Look,
it's quite,
It was
Quite low.
it was proposed. You're talking about the grants that are available.
Yes, yeah.
So there's state government grants which are available in all the different states. They're more your first home buyers grants, with like the cash amount you might be able to get, or the stamp duty concession. Those amounts vary state to state and are still too low. They have been for a long time. Queensland put ours up, only about 12 months ago.
What's ours at the moment?
It was 500, went to 700 to be completely stamp duty exempt, and then it's partial up to 800. The federal government scheme that you might be referring to is the 5%, was called a low deposit scheme, it's now called a first home guarantee scheme. So if you've got a 5% of the deposit price, you can purchase, but there's different property caps in every capital and then every regional area of the state. In the last run to the election, both the parties proposed different ideas, and the government who got in, Albanese, proposed increasing those caps. We haven't seen that pass yet and be enacted, but if it does, then the property caps and the income caps on how much the couple or individuals can earn are likely to increase quite significantly. So we're hoping that comes good.
It's quite low. It's really low.
It is, and in Brisbane, I think we're at 700 or 750 still. They don't even line up with the state government, grants, but
750.
that's been pushed to go into 1
What could we
million.
buy, Rick, for 750? Where are we buying for 750 if you're a first home buyer?
750, and you can get stamp duty free.
Yeah,
And like the first home grant, if it's a brand new.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so where would we buy? What suburbs could you buy in for 750? Not even
like
Canberra.
I know some brand new like in Gunna,
Oh,
Moorfield,
yes, right.
Caboolture, some.
So right on the outer now
Yeah.
for 750.
Because the first home buyers grant in Queensland needs to be brand new. So there's quite a few variances. It's really quite a matrix. It's something really
Luke,
you need to discuss
where
on
are we
an
buying, Luke?
individual basis.
Might be brand new.
Oh,
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
in Malcolm.
Yep, up America.
You can still get 750 out there.
Yeah, you can get a brand new one bedroom with a second room, so it's like a 2 bedroom,
Oh, yeah.
one bathroom, for $689.
Okay,
You can
and
buy-
how far is that from, that's what, 10 kilometres from the
It's
city?
it's about 17 kilometres,
Oh, is it?
or
God.
2 decent songs on the freeway.
Oh, nice.
So there are options with all the metric, and it all varies quite considerably. It really is worth an individual chat because there's a lot to play off between each other, and there are some changes happening at a state, certainly at a federal level, which we're expecting and hoping come in either January 1st or maybe next July 1st.
Yeah, the best one for brand new for a first home buyer is there's no stamp duty. It doesn't matter, there's no cap.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So you can
right,
spend
that's right.
1.5 million
Yeah,
and still have
and we
stamp
do have
duty.
first home buyers who are in their
Yeah.
40s, who are buying their first home and they're spending 1.5 and there's no stamp.
That's right. On a state level, that was brought in earlier this year, and that is significant from a new purchase price,
What about
absolutely.
Parents go guarantor. Is that is that possible to, not with the first home buyers?
Yep,
but
parents
helping out?
guarantor doesn't stop the stamp duty exception.
Yeah, okay, brilliant.
So you still qualify for that. It means you don't need to worry about the 5% federal government
Yeah,
scheme.
yeah.
And that's absolutely an option which we're seeing more and more of. We're doing those a couple of times a week at the moment. And as a parent, you're not liable for your whole property. It's only the share or the percentage that you're guarantoring. So if it's a 20% deposit you're guarantoring, if it might be, say, 200,000, then that's the mortgage that's taken over your property, whether it's an owner occupied. It can have existing lending. Some lenders, we don't always have to refinance it, or it can be a property which is unencumbered, then put in a parent guarantor. Effectively, that loan's paid down first, so your kids would then pay down that 200,000 or 100,000, whatever you need to guarantor, and you'll be released before they pay down the rest of their loan.
And what if they get a job promotion or something, can they look at refinancing?
Oh, absolutely.
Away, okay.
Yeah.
So you're
yeah.
not stuck with that guarantee.
And obviously, not only you're paying down, your child's paying down that loan, but you're getting the growth. So we've seen parent guarantors come out as early as 5-6 months after doing the guarantor.
And elderly parents who aren't working any longer can actually help as well, because you can, although I'm not recommending this, but you can do a reverse mortgage where just for the deposit amount you would do a reverse mortgage against your home, which doesn't actually need income.
Although there are some parent guarantors now, we're getting back to a stage with internal policy where more and more banks are allowing parental guarantor without needing to see servicing from the parents for their share. So it's even better.
Again.
Yeah.
But if not, there's still the ability to do a reverse mortgage.
There is, yeah.
You just need a willing parent.
You just one who's got equity in their home.
But
Which
yeah.
would not be hard these days.
There are invariably a number of different ways to look at it. I think one of the most important things is looking at, there's something that we all do here, obviously between all of the group, it's not just a transaction at the moment, but looking ahead to what is the 1 year, 3 year, 5 year and 10 year consequence of that loan you're doing now, to make sure that the structure we're putting in place doesn't just impact the transaction now, but what's going to be available longer term. So
I think what I love about property is that if you buy property now, it doesn't really matter what you buy. I'm with you, Ruth. Like whatever you buy, in 20 or 30 or 40 years' time, if you've got that long-term outlook, you're going to make money. That's the beauty of property. Some of our wealthiest clients have retired. Our clients who've retired, the wealthiest, have retired as, on modest incomes, school teachers or, firefighters, and they bought 4 or 5 properties back in the 90s. And they've retired in the last few years with literally millions of dollars.
and not all at once, but every 5 years, leveraged off each other over a longer term plan.
Over 3 or 4 years,
yeah.
they just bought these cheap properties back in the early 90s,
And
over the last 5
yeah.
years.
And I would encourage, like if you're busting to get in the market, if you have capacity, consider SMSF.
As a
Self-managed super
absolutely.
fund.
And
Yeah.
self-managed super funds are great. You can do them with family. I do, and you can buy art.
I have issues with doing it with family, but
Yeah, you can buy
Um,
shares, you can buy ETFs, you can buy, so I'm a huge fan of self-managed super funds. I know I'm a financial planner.
And look, the other thing on self-managed super fund lending as well, you may be aware, the Royal Commission really changed the game. A lot of major lenders did self-managed super fund lending. After the Royal Commission, with the extra regulations and restrictions that were brought in, a lot of them moved away, not necessarily because they needed to, but just a bit scared about the extra requirements around it. So a lot of products were grandfathered. So we've got a number of clients, there may be people here tonight, who have got self-managed super fund loans from prior to 2019 that were grandfathered, therefore given a terrible rate around. There's still clients like 8, 9, even 10%. Over the last couple of years, we've seen a real resurgence of private lenders come into that space. So they're non-bank lenders, but still often big names who there's lenders who you'll see all across, say, the NRL and the football, who you might consider as a bank lender, but they're technically a non-bank lender, who are big in the self-managed super fund space. So there's a couple of dozen, really. And it means now that rates are back to really competitive. We're getting 6.74, and that's before the rate dropped 2 days ago, so we'll see that come down to below 6.5 in the coming week or two for residential properties in a self-managed super fund. So you're talking, maybe a percentage point higher than in an individual name. Yeah.
When I had one, in 2020, when rates were so low, or 2021, I was paying 8 or 9% with mine with Granite. I think I was with Granite.
in your super fund.
Yeah, so high. And the rates were so low.
It's really competitive now, and the extra margin or the profit margin on them is only about a percentage more. Until the Royal Commission, I guess, but major banks were getting around 3% on our residential mortgages. And they're still doing very well at their 2%. I think CBA has posted 10.2 billion, and that's at around a 2% profit margin on the cash rate. But the self-managed super funds are taking around a 3%, whereas before it might have been 4 or 5 or 6. So
I'd be still happy to pay it to get access to the opportunity. Yeah.
It's true. Anyone got any questions? There's so much I could cover off. I haven't asked Chris too much because he made me promise beforehand not to ask him many
No one else
questions.
needs to.
But if anyone's got any questions,
Does anyone want to talk about SMSF?
all my other advisors. Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah.
My name is Ayal. I'm a Bitcoin reserve advisor for companies.
Okay.
And my question is, how do you see investment in property versus investment in Bitcoin?
This is such a
Jasmine.
hard one for me.
I'd like to
Interested
have a stab at
to
this.
hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah. I have Bitcoin exposure in my super fund. I'm not going to die on that hill though. I mean, I think it's the difference between that and property, I think it's clear. I mean, Bitcoin can be classified as speculative, I think, whereas we've got long history with real estate. But I'm not opposed to have exposure to both.
I actually think Bitcoin's got to be. I think it would be. I've got 21-year-old kids. I've had them both invest into Bitcoin. So I think if you've got a long-term outlook, I think Bitcoin. It's sort of like you've got to be in it. It's like if you're not in it, there's an opportunity cost of not being in something. Whereas it's becoming more and more regulated. There's more and more exposure. There's Bitcoin banks. There's Bitcoin ATMs. There's talk of companies like PayPal and Amazon looking to use it as their stable coin rather than currency. So I would be amiss to not look at it as a potential asset class now that's worth looking at, that's worth investing into. As advisors, we are so far, like our PI insurance, we are so regulated. And it's, I even feel like by saying Bitcoin on video, that there's someone's going to, like the regulators are going to come and get me.
We're literally not covered by our PI.
No, they've actually just changed that. So I've just applied with my PI to actually change it so I can talk about Bitcoin. But it's so regulated and so stringent that we're not able to recommend it as a product even. And it's not a financial product. It's not actually classed as a financial product. But it's the PI insurance that actually has me not being able to recommend it. I would never recommend somebody in retirement buy Bitcoin or someone nearing retirement, or just because it's a risk, unless you've got a lot of money and you want to put a portion of it for your legacy. But if you're 20, 25, 30, or if you're willing to sort of risk some of that money, because I still think there's a lot of unknown.
I think it's the volatility, and the history's not there.
Maybe crypto, maybe Bitcoin is different. Bitcoin and Ethereum are like the blue chip Bitcoin. Like I'd be scared to go and buy any other crypto. Like, was that dog with hat?
Dog with hat.
Oh, there's so many meme coins or Bitcoins and. But I think Bitcoin and Ethereum. What do you say? You wouldn't buy it?
I'll never buy a meme coin. No.
Oh no. But I think so that's I know, but it's really hard for us to talk about. So as soon as we're asked about it, it's like I want to say, and I've got the other advisors are all down the back there. And they would all, like, they're smiling at me now, they would all, it's Ivan and Mel, I'm sure they're probably raising their eyebrows at me now. Look at Mel, she's looking at me, look.
And that's the regulation in Australia, right?
So,
But
yes.
Can I ask a related question? Like back in 2019, my boss started investing and I was like, what's the underlying? At that time, we just had Ethereum, ETC. And now I'm coming to a conclusion, I'm now an investor of these. And how I see it, it's basically an investment against the current US dollar positioning as a base currency. So if, for example, India, China, or Russia has to buy oil for Iran, you don't have, in the crazy world we're living in, that's what I mean. When I'm investing in BTC, I'm thinking I'm investing against the dollar or the US economy in general.
Yeah.
And that has paid well. The second thing is, I think you would probably correct me, BTC number of mining, it halves every 4 years.
The reward.
The rewards.
The miners get.
Which means, so this has to be, if sustained, if I just assume whatever is the overheads in mining it, let's say electricity or whatever, cost of electricity is coming down. And to get a 100% return in 4 years, roughly saying we are looking at, what, 24-ish%, give or take, per year, assuming this infrastructure is.
Yeah.
I see it as a good investment, as a tactical investment, as you said.
I agree.
I would not say, okay, buy it at 123, at 1,000 as it's trading today, and sell it at 130. No, don't do that.
Yeah.
But if you have 4 years, and especially in this context, I see that there is a potential. But I agree with her that it's a tactical position. It should not be 5% more than your super, but it should have a position.
They've estimated 2140 as in the year is when they'll mine the last one. They don't know.
And that's what I love about Bitcoin.
So
like
we'll all be long gone when they mine the last
but
Bitcoin.
it will be scared. Like it will come to an end. It's like, any land on the coast.
it's scarce, you know, if you
It's
could,
like,
yeah, and it will come to an end.
Finite, yeah.
You just
Yeah.
have to connect it with the logic of investor. That if you don't understand, okay, but where you're investing is actually against the US dollar and the world order.
It's gold, look how what gold's done over
Yes,
the last few
like
years.
my investment was a lot into gold and BTC.
Yeah, oh, you've done
It's,
brilliantly. God, you've had a great.
Drinks are on you.
Yeah, that's
I
it.
think now with the price today, it's just gone, it's the 5th largest asset.
And it's, I
Plus-
mean, and with the ETFs now, you don't have to have 180,000, or you don't have to buy one Bitcoin. You can invest 10,000
a
into
portion of it, yeah.
Absolutely. Global X, I'm a huge fan of Global X. They do amazing ETFs. They're always thematic. You know, you can buy uranium, you can buy a crypt, you can buy ETF that invests in the infrastructure of crypto, which is
The
amazing.
problem with
because-
ETF that you are not actually buying the actual asset,
I agree.
so you're taking a third-party risk
Yeah.
here.
But if you're talking fractional money though, because it's expensive, Bitcoin. I mean, like my 21-year-old couldn't buy Bitcoin right now. I wish he could, but at least he can buy a portion of it.
You can buy the portion directly, it doesn't need to do it through ETF.
That is true, that's true. With the ETFs though, you can do them like on Beta Shares have a platform which is absolutely no brokerage. Like, so I know you're still paying a very tiny fee, but no brokerage, very small.
It's cheaper to buy it directly.
I know, you're going straight through Coinbase though, I know.
One of the exchanges,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, but.
Yeah, that's true, that's true.
I'm a
but
huge
it's-
fan of property, personally.
That's
Dirt or not, you can touch it. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's true. And property, look, property, you buy property, you know you're going to be fine.
We'll have to
That's
do
the
another
thing with
seminar on
property.
crypto. No.
Oh, no, we can't, we can't. Oh, no, not until my
Until they change the regulations. Yeah.
Does anyone have any property questions?
Yes.
Sorry.
No, it was good.
One property question. We heard from the first speaker, was that Luke?
Yeah.
First speaker, yeah. You talked about where to buy in Brisbane, pretty much anywhere, and with the Olympics, particularly the infrastructure related to the Olympics. What about post-Olympics? You know, so it's a good few years away. Any views on what's good to, if you buy property now and hold on, you know, if we looked at 10, 15 years time, what's good in that time frame if we bought now?
I think if you...
Same or more different to?
Yeah, I think, well, if you were buying post-Olympics, I think that's a whole different time. But if you're buying now for growth to continue post-Olympics, I would be looking, it's that same infrastructure component, be looking at where, I mean, I think Bowen Hills is a great opportunity at the moment because it's arguably $300,000 cheaper for the same thing in Newstead. So in Newstead, a 2-bedroom apartment might be $1 million. You can get a 2-bedroom apartment in Bowen Hills for $700,000, you know, like for like. So I think there's some great opportunity there because they'll always have the stadium and all the things that are going to be built around that. Other areas, I think, you know, parts of the Gold Coast. I used to live on the Gold Coast. I bought property down there, owned property down there, but I think that's probably a little bit risky. But other areas where, you know, there's going to be a fair bit of infrastructure that is there long term. So Southport, I think north of there is pretty good. Rabina's got a lot of things going for it because of the education and employment infrastructure down there that's already there. So yeah, it's kind of hard. I actually think Bayside suburbs at the moment are probably great for the biggest return. If you were coming up from Sydney and you could live, let's pick Cleveland, Manly, you know, there's a train line, right, from here to Cleveland. You can get a train, it's worst case 40 minutes from door to door into the CBD. If I said to you, you were in Sydney and I said you can be on the water and be in the city in 40 minutes and you can buy a brand new home or a brand new townhouse for $1 million or a brand new apartment for $800,000, you'd have to think that's exceptional value. And I guess to the point, Bayside, there's only a certain amount of land there. So I think there's great opportunities from, I guess, all the way from Southport, so down on the Gold Coast, right through Cleveland, Ormiston. I think Wynnum's got some great things going on for it on the right side of the train track. I think the Peninsula is a great spot at the moment, Woody Point, Margate. There's a lot of money being spent there. There's a lot of developers going up there.
And it's a really great place. I was pretty surprised. I went to Brighton for the first time in my life, and was blown away by the cafes and restaurants and all that stuff there. So, and it's really affordable. In what I'm selling close into the city, it's exceptionally affordable, and it's got train line access. So I'd be focusing on train line and access
train
into
line,
the city.
It's all the, I think it's the fundamentals that drive the growth long term. I think maybe just with the Olympics we're going to get some supersonic growth, but it's, being close to infrastructure and amenities and transport and
Do you know what else
employment
I think?
hubs.
I think look forward, like what is the next decade bringing for people and lifestyle? Like what do we all look for? I think now people look for more lifestyle balance. I know at work, half of my staff work hybrid, they're home. I feel like the next decade, if you look forward for thematic trends, AI is a whole new revolution. I mean, talk about the iPhone revolution in 2000. I feel like we're at the start of another one now, which would change the way people work, where they can work from, how they want to live. Even people not having kids until later, living, I think of apartments. I lived in an apartment for the first time when we built a house. We lived in the valley for about 6 weeks while we finished building. And I've got 4 kids, and we all lived in this apartment, and it was so much fun. I didn't want to move back to the suburbs, but I'd actually never lived in an apartment before, and I will probably go back to one now. Although I lived out at Sanford, so I lived on land, and to go into the valley, it was.
Do you think it was the novelty?
I did love it. I did love it. It was just really easy living.
Yeah.
But I think you've got to
Mr.
look.
Curry's made a lot of money.
I think you've got to look forward what is happening for the next decade, the next 2 decades, and I think it's very different to what suburbia was like in the 90s and even the early 2000s, or the 80s, 90s and early 2000s. I think it's changing, and I think if you travel and you go to Singapore and New York and all the big cities, and not that Brisbane's anywhere near like that, but they've got their apartment living and their lifestyles and their parks are far better than ours are. So I'm not saying that I'm for apartments or for land, but I think that Brisbane's changing, and I think that when you look for what's going to be great in 10 years, I think Bayside, I think anything coast, anything with lifestyle views, ocean, anything where land is scarce. But would I want to buy something out, say, in Warner or Caboolture, or would I want to buy a lifestyle unit in Tenerife? I don't want to buy something at Nunda that's 40 units with like 2 bedrooms. Do I want to buy something that's got 3 bedrooms, light? I've got shops and friends and community and a pool that I don't have to look after. Maybe I do, I'm not sure, but I do know that the younger generation's changing, and they're not.
It's interesting. I think the apartments. I mean, when I first started selling apartments off the plan, they were a 70 square metre, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment.
No good.
And if you were downsizing and moving into a lifestyle change, you would get, you could look at the 3 bedrooms and they were 100 square metres. So Brisbane has really evolved in the product that is being delivered now. So I think, and it's the same with townhomes, and everyone asks me, why do you call them townhomes? Because townhouse has a negative connotation. Because I first moved out of home and was in a 2-bedroom townhouse. And would I live in that today? Probably not. Is it being built today? Not in the inner city, not within a 20-kilometre radius. No. You can find it in Richlands, and they're building them with 2.4 ceilings, and they're not great, but that's affordable, and it's certainly selling at a huge number. But I think if you look at Sydney, so when Sydney went through its Olympics, they went and built Homebush. Would I live in Homebush today? Not a chance. No way. It's not appealing in any way. I think if I compare that to what maybe happened with the Com Games and what the Gold Coast did with Labrador, that as you're going down Smith Street, if you've ever gone to the Gold Coast, you go Smith Street, there's those multicoloured Right, so that's the athletes' village that they built.
It's like nothing around it.
So they've had to now build stuff. So there's a Woolies and there's the hospital and the uni. But really, would I live there? No. So I think what Brisbane's going to benefit from is the infrastructure and the things that they're delivering in the inner city. So, and it's what we've needed. I will never go to another concert at Boondall in my life. I cannot stand it. It's the worst venue. We've got amazing venues in here, and we're thankfully building another one. So I think what Brisbane's going to benefit from the Olympics is
is that it's actually city infrastructure. So it's not necessarily, you know, there's an athletes village being built at Bowen Hills, there's another one on the Gold Coast, and there's some being built at Hamilton. But they're actually already under construction. And they were always just going to be built to rent, but the government's now done a deal with Lend-Lease and a few others that it's just going to be for the athletes village. So it's a little bit, I think, what Brisbane's going to benefit from growth is the lack of availability for people to live in anything, the lack of supply, and the sheer volume of people coming here. And the growth is now, between now and the Olympics. And some people say, oh, you'd be selling just before the Olympics because that's going to be the peak. Sure, but if you buy now, regardless of the peak and the trough, it's going to be another peak after the
And
anyway.
you should never sell. You only sell if you have we call it a trigger moment. You know, like you divorce, retire. Never sell. You buy and you hold as long as you can. And if the banks will keep lending you the money,
Leverage.
This guy is
Just
the guy
leverage.
you need to be friends with. If he can get you the money, you
And
just
I'll
keep
talk to you
buying.
about the risks.
That's
Yeah,
right.
and I shouldn't be talking. I'll get done. Anyone got any questions for Chris? No? Okay, good. Anyone, anything for
It's
anything?
a key member of your team.
Oh, property, that's this, Go.
Like, a little background, like, I'm an immigrant and I don't have the cash pile for, I cannot go to my parents. And when I was living in the city, I realized that as the rental yield kind of catching up with the market price, salaries aren't. So there are people between the age of, I would say, 22 to 30 years who are your prospective investors who cannot afford a rental in the city, but they want to live because they're young. What has happened is all of them are not friends, but are living in a 3-bedroom apartment because that's how the maths work.
Yeah.
And what you said blew my mind about having friends putting their, like buying a house as a trust. And that there's a gap in the market and this can solve it.
That's what we're trying to do.
Is it an education problem that, and if you call it up with like taking leverage on deposit bond, I don't know what it is. It is again a new information that kind of blew my mind. It's basically leveraging. It's like buying call option on the property.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
And it is crazy because it kind of makes me excited, but the kids don't because they don't know it.
Yes.
No, that's what we're that's why we're trying. That's why we're trying.
There's
to get-
different ways to do it.
Financial literacy is not strong across any parts of the Australian culture. It's not taught in schools. Luke mentioned that before, which is just mind-blowing. And it's certainly not something that people are aware of. Even some of the products that exist have changed recently and they're not common knowledge. But there are increased opportunities, whether it's through a trust, whether it's through a self-managed super fund, and even increasingly for individuals getting together and co-investing.
And the deposit bond is another.
Is there a caveat there? Like, for example, we are friends and we say, okay, let's buy a house, and we fight, like most people.
That's why you have to have it legally, you have to have a contract, like a
Who
legal
defaults?
contract.
Whose credit score goes down if, like, I lose my job and I can't pay my rentals? Will she be affected?
Yeah, she will.
Yeah, there is impact. There is impact, it'll depend on how you set up, but it would also might be that you're selling that quite quickly. You'd have it quite liquid to be able to move quickly to go, okay, we're doing this as an investment, or we're all here, but we've all agreed in the case of default, it'll be on the market within this X period.
You have set agreements that are made before. It's the only way.
And things would move quickly. We go, that's it, we liquidate, we get it on front of the market, and in the current
Your
market,
friend
that's
might
going to be
get a
sold.
chance. She might write off you at that stage. Like she'll have the first.
That's
chance,
right.
And you might have it in the agreement that it's one independent valuation as the price of what she'll pay for it for. So everything has to be stipulated before you enter that. Once it is, it's quite seamless, but it's just you have to agree to certain things before. And it is a great thing. I've got 21-year-olds, and this is what started. This is part of what's driven this. We're actually going to open a planning booth in Westfield, Chermside, in October, just for a month to see how it goes, to try and get the foot traffic of young people, to get them to see what's going on.
I'm thinking about having a kiosk in a university
Hey, that's what I'm
campus.
doing. There you go. I think actually Mel, one of the advisors, just did a kiosk at a uni campus.
And sharing this sort of information, giving them access to modelling software to actually run the scenario and go, hang on, this is actually possible. Because a deposit bond's great. If you've got the borrowing capacity but not the savings, then that's an option. But obviously you still have to have the borrowing capacity to be able to pay for that ultimately when it settles, But
But you don't need the borrowing capacity when the deposit bonds.
No, the net borrowing capacity
So
at
you
the
need
time
to
it
know
settles,
that in 18
what your
months when it
projection is.
settles,
Yeah.
You're going to be able to pay for that loan. Or that probably Luke would be better to know this than I am, but I know in the last few years, and it has been a great few years, if you bought a deposit bond, say you did a deposit bond 3 years ago for a property worth 800, it goes to settle 3 years later and it's now worth one mil or something. You have instant equity, but also if you were just to sell that property before you got any loan for it or paid any interest on it, you would take that 200,000. Well, you would take a profit on that property. So is that right? I think.
Yeah, you can.
I think
you
I
can
did.
there's speculating in buying
You would,
off the plan.
we would never recommend to do that, but like in a good market like this, and then in a bad market like we were saying earlier, it can be where you bought this property for 800, you go to settle, bank values are coming in at 600, Brendan can't get you the loan because the banks are saying it's 600. You then either have to put the extra money in yourself, or it's bad news.
Or you lose your
But look, I mean, certainly lately, over the last couple of years, there are a number of people buying off the plan, and they've gone, okay, I don't have the 20%, but I've got, say, 12%. That's one of the magic numbers. 12% is great because once you've looked at your deposit plus the lender's mortgage insurance is added, the lender's mortgage insurance will invariably be under 2% at that deposit amount. So your post LVR or your post cap LVR, your total loan to value ratio is still under 90%. So therefore your interest rate is still quite competitive, somewhere in the sixes.
You have to have 20% deposit.
So you've got your 12% you put in, and by the time the property settles, as long as it's been for nearly all lenders 12 months since you signed the contract, they'll take the actual valuation, the market valuation, as at the time of settlement. So if you've had that growth, suddenly your LVR drops and you actually no longer need to pay lender's mortgage insurance. Even though you were committed to doing that, suddenly your 12% deposit equals 20%. We've seen that time and time again.
Yeah. And given the current climate where we're seeing interest rates dropping and growth in the property market, it's actually a really good time to be looking off the plan.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing we're doing for young, and this is a little bit of a segue for young people, and we've just finished it now with Andrew. Andrew, you want to come up here for 1 sec? Andrew, Andrew works.
He can have my seat if you want.
No, Andrew works, he contracts to me. Andrew has his own company called Scalable Thinking. I always say Scalable Investments. Scalable Thinking. Andrew's been working with me for 4 or 5 months. He's a software engineer and he's built a digital portal for me, for our clients, for all of our profiles and all of our data. And we've also just built a digital advice document for 20 to 30-year-olds. So for anyone here tonight who's young, I can see a few of you.
What do you
mean? We're doing them for. I'm gonna. If you want to get one done, basically give me your phone number and your email, because we're going to trial it now. So I've tried it with my sons. We're going to sell them for $5.50, but it will literally. I shouldn't say literally. I read somewhere that's very bad when you're speaking. It will allow you to put in all your details. Andrew's built this system with me where it asks you all these questions. It gets a risk profile from you. It asks you your goals. It spits out all this advice for me, which I then just put through a program that Andrew's built, all based within the Hudson guardrails, which will then give you an advice document which will cover savings. It'll cover the sort of investments that we'd recommend, which will soon include a little bit of Bitcoin, as soon as I'm allowed to. And it will, if you're conservative, it will only talk about bonds. If you're aggressive, it will talk about things like maybe uranium or geared, share funds. And within 24 hours, you'll get a beautiful advice document from us. And this is all done with the use of AI and the Hudson documents. So anyone between the ages of 20 and 30 tonight who wants one, we're doing it free tonight, just so we can make sure there's no hiccups in it.
Are you suggesting
put it out there?
They don't need an advisor?
You're out. I know, it's true. You actually don't need an advisor with this. So we've actually created this.
We do it 30.
What's up, everybody?
It's coming, Nick.
33 years of advising, expertise going into
AI
it.
doesn't have my personality.
It doesn't. And it actually, AI can't handle complex. AI can't handle trust, and it can't handle the nuances. It can, but it does get things wrong. So that's why we've only made it for 20 to 30-year-olds.
And has to be
If you're
overseen
20
by an
and if
advisor.
you're 20 or 30-year-old who's married, you can't do it either. It's literally only for single. But we do.
Like a dating app.
Exactly.
Right, maybe got it.
There is digital SOAs out there, but the difference with ours is that, like when you go to get an X-ray, you know, and the radiologist ticks it off in the background, one of our advisors will tick this off just to make sure that the AI hasn't got anything technical wrong. It shouldn't. We've built it within our guardrails of Hudson, but it's still computer. So it will still get done. It'll come to one of the advisors. They'll just go down and check that it's technically right, and then it will get emailed to you. But it's really good. It's got a savings graph. It works out based on your income when you might be able to buy your house. Talks about the first homeowners grant. It's really good. So anyone here who wants to try it for us.
Provide an accessible option for the younger generation, which otherwise has been out of reach because of the cost that's usually involved. So.
Sam, stand up. You can take my son right there. All right, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time, for coming tonight and listening to us, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.